The month is winding down, and that means it's time for the Maybe series. Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today I'm so excited for today, you guys. Today is the October 2023 Maybe series. If you're new here, first of all, the Maybe series is a list of books that I compile towards the end of the month that I might read in the upcoming month. I don't really get into the synopsis or anything. Really just tell you the title, put a little picture here, and I tell you why I'm interested in the book. Just because it's on the Maybes list doesn't mean it goes into my final lineup. These are just kind of books that are on my mind for the upcoming month. Also, if you're new here, October is my all horror month, so that means that every book on the list today is a horror book. October is by far my favorite month of the year. I get a huge horror fix in October, and I am so excited to share with you some of the books that I'm excited about possibly reading in October. Before we get into it, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and all we do on this channel is talk about books. So if you like listening to people talk about books, here I am every week doing just that for you. The list is long because every time I make my horror maybes list, it's long. I can't help it. They all sound good, but I was pretty picky about the titles that went on this list. I really kind of dug into the reviews, spoiler free, to see what everybody was kind of saying, and I was very selective with the titles that went on this list because last October for Spooktober, my Spooktober wrap-up was just, I was a little on the disappointed side. I really don't want that to happen this year. I want October to be a really awesome horror month for me. So, yeah, I was a little picky about what went on the list. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. The first book on the list is Bad Cree by Jessica Johns. Okay, I talked about this a little bit in the last episode when I was talking about books that I'm excited about. This book sounds to me along the same lines as The Only Good Indian by Stephen Graham Jones. I'm really interested in this book because it sounds like the main character kind of like has this lucid dream about black crows, and then when she wakes up, the dream is kind of like coming true. It definitely has this like folklore horror edge to it that I'm like really interested in. If I cannot read this in Spooktober for the Spooktober lineup, then I'll definitely try and push it into November for Indigenous Heritage Month. So yeah, one way or another, this book is definitely getting read. I just don't know when. The next book on my list is Snow by Ronald Malfi. I'm not gonna lie, like I looked at this title just now and I completely drew a blank about what this book was about. But I think I've remembered it correctly now. I think it's about this couple that's trying to get from the airport to home and like rent a car together, and then they end up passing through this town that's deserted and they get stuck there, and then they find out that it's not deserted. I'm pretty sure that's what this book is. It sounded a lot like Texas Chainsaw mixed with like paranormal type stuff. It sounded pretty cool, okay, but I don't know. This is kind of like a hard title to find. I don't know why that is, but yeah, it definitely sounded spooky. It had decent reviews, so yeah, on the list it went. The next book on my list is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. Y'all know the gag, right? This is Grady Hendrix. Grady Hendrix goes on the horror lineup. But if you watched my, Spooktober episode from last week, you'll know that Grady Hendrix is on thin ice with me. I don't know that just because it's Grady Hendrix that secures him a spot in the Spooktober lineup. Now, this book has decent reviews. This is like his newest one. I think he just published this in the spring, if I remember correctly. And I mean, I feel like the title kind of says it all. There's some weird family dynamics about this home house, like a childhood home, and the two siblings have to figure out what they're going to do with it. And they go home and they kind of realize that there's this presence there and they need to get rid of it, and the house doesn't want to let them go. All very standard haunted house criteria, so I don't really see this being an issue reading it. It's You know, it's just that the last couple times I've read Grady Hendrix, I haven't been super impressed. So, yeah. Will it go into the lineup? I don't know. We may save this for a later time, just because I don't want to gamble with my Spooktober lineup, but it does sound good. I do have some friends that have read it and said that they really liked it, so it has high hopes. The next book on the Spooktober Maybes list is Coldbrook by Tim Lebbon. Lebbon, I think that's right. This cover just gave me a lot of really good vibes, and then I read the description and I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. It's supposed to be kind of like a science fiction-ish novel, so like there's supposed to be like a laboratory where they're doing like these human experiments, but in the Appalachian Mountains, and then something kind of like gets out. So it sounds like it could be sci-fi horror mixed with folklore horror. Ooh, sign me up. Anything with the Appalachian Mountains, I'm in, okay? That shit's scary. That sounds spooky. This sounds really cool. The biggest bummer about this book is it's kind of massive. It's like over 500 pages. That's really big. I don't know. I don't know. Just because I know how busy I've been lately, I don't know that I could handle a 500 book. I don't know. A lot of the books on this list have the same issue. Like, the ones that I'm super interested in reading are a little on the longer side, like 500 or 600 pages, and I just don't know if I'm gonna have time in my lineup to do that with the way my work schedule's been. So we'll see. This one definitely sounds creepy. The next book on my list is Don't Fear the Reaper by Stephen Graham Jones. Okay, this is the sequel to My Heart is a Chainsaw, which I absolutely loved that book. That book was fantastic. It was really good. Like, if you like nostalgia horror, wow, like this had like cult horror nostalgia all over it. It had indigenous folklore. It had terrific gore writing. It was just everything I wanted. Everything I wanted. And I listened to it on audiobook, and the narrator for the audiobook absolutely nailed it. It was spectacular. So this is the sequel to My Heart is a Chainsaw. And I don't really know what to expect because the last book sort of ended on a cliffhanger. I did not really look into the synopsis for this book because I know that I want to read it because I liked the first book so much. The last one was kind of long, so I'm assuming this one's long too. Like I said, if I don't get to this month, I may push it to Indigenous Heritage Month for November, or just somewhere else in general, because I know that I want to read this book. I know that I'm interested in this sequel, so I'm not gonna just like let this one slip away. But it needed to be noted that Stephen Graham Jones is on the Spooktober lineup, and I am excited about this book. The next book is Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay. Okay, if you watched last week's episode, you know Paul Tremblay is also on thin ice with me, and I do not know that I want to commit him to the Spooktober lineup. But this book is on here. A lot of people said it's really good. The reviews were pretty positive for it. It's supposed to be about a pandemic, fitting, and then they go into quarantine, and one of the nurses at the hospital has a friend who's at home that says that she's infected and she's pregnant with her baby. So the whole book is about her trying to get to the hospital to get help. Now, I will say a lot of the more positive reviews said that they read this around 2020 when everyone was in lockdown and everything, and that it sort of had that nostalgia, not nostalgia, but like relatability to it, that kind of what we were going through at that time. I don't know how horror-ish this is. A lot of people said that this was a very emotional book, and it focused on the relationship between these two characters and about like the bond of friendship and stuff. But I mean, it is about basically like a zombie type apocalypse sort of thing. So there could be horror elements in it. Does it get a strong vote? I don't know, because it doesn't sound horror-ish enough to me. Yeah. The next book on my list is The Ruins by Scott Smith. Okay, the reason I chose this one is because it sounds a lot like this book. Okay, like the description of it. And while I did not hate this book, I didn't love it either. I thought there was a lot of really good moments in this book, but the ending was just not for me, okay? But this sort of sounds like the same thing. So basically a group of people are in Mexico and they go to these ancient ruins and they take something back with them, or they get lost in the woods and they're kind of surrounded by this energy. It's giving very Blair Witch. Okay, like, you know, you disturb the balance or whatever, and then everything's sort of coming out and coming after you, and before you know it, you're kind of stuck in the wilderness and you can't find your way out. It sounds like a good time. I mean, obviously not if you're stuck in the jungle. Sounds like good horror, okay? And the reviews were pretty good for this one, so yeah. The next book on my Spooktober Maybes list is The Seance in Apartment 10 by Ambrose Ibsen. Okay. I mean, this sounds like pretty cut and dry, right? Seance in Apartment 10. I guess like some people moved into this apartment and during like the christening party or something, somebody like got out a Ouija board, and yeah, the rest is history, right? This sounded a lot like The Graveyard Apartment to me, which I really liked that book. So yeah, this also sounds like maybe a little young though. Like I think they're like in college. It's just like younger than me, you know? But yeah, it sounded pretty good. The reviews were decent, so on the list it went. I love a good haunted house book. Okay, the next book on my list is Echo by Thomas Olde Heuvelt. If you watched last week's episode. I love Thomas Olde Heuvelt, okay? I love Hex, which is the first book I wrote by him. But like I said, he does not typically write his books in English, but this one is formatted for English. This is about the only book that you can find besides Hex that's formatted for English. And this is supposed to be about a haunted mountain. So, two things that I find very frightening. One, you know, spirits, whatever, paranormal, that's good. We love that in a horror book. And then two, I think this is like a hiking book, like going up the side of a mountain. That also doesn't sound like something I would ever do, and something that sounds very frightening. So the only bag about this book is it's a little long, which is pretty typical for Thomas Olde Heuvelt. He does not write short books. The reviews on this were very mixed, so I don't know. I promised Thomas Olde Heuvelt would go on the list today, so here he is. This is my best shot at reading him for the Spooktober. The next book on my list is Dark Matter by Michelle Paver. This is supposed to be a ghost story, and it's supposed to be a period piece, and it's supposed to be set in the Arctic. All a lot of good things, okay? Except for the period piece. I'm not totally into period pieces. But the reviews for this were really good. It literally says a ghost story on the cover. I mean, it had to go on, right? The next book on my list is The Good House by Tananarive Due. I think that's how you say her name. Okay, this book has amazing reviews, all right? By far, out of the whole list of books today, this one had the best reviews. Everybody loved this book. They said that it had just an amazing amount of representation, that the paranormal and supernatural vibes of this book were amazing. I'm really, really excited about this book. Do you want to know one thing I'm not excited about? It's almost 600 pages. I'm sorry, almost 600 pages. I don't know if I could do that, but this one has the best reviews. Like I said, out of all the lineup today, this one has the best reviews. It's supposed to be super good. I'm really excited about it. I don't know that I can read 600 pages. I really don't. Like, 600 pages for a horror is really long. Like, I mean, we're getting into Stephen King territory right there. So, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, but this one is supposed to be amazing. Last one on my list is episode 13 by DiLouie. Okay, this is supposed to be about a group of people that are doing like a ghost documentary type stuff. And so for the 13th episode of their show, they're going into this establishment, house, whatever, to commune with the spirits, or, you know, whatever you do on ghost hunting shows. So it's supposed to be like a lot of found footage and a lot of like paranormal stuff. The reviews were super mixed on this. Like, by and far, a lot of good reviews, but then a lot of very mid-ground reviews, which I don't love. But I love found footage. Okay, that's one of my favorite, like, subgenres for horror is found footage horror mixed with paranormal. That sounds super exciting to me, and yeah, if I can get my hands on this and I feel comfortable enough with like the mixed reviews of it, I think I want to read this one. I have not read a good haunted house book in a hot minute, and so I really want to read a haunted house book this Spooktober. And if you can't tell, like, I feel like a majority of the horror lineup is haunted house. So before you ask, no, Max Booth III did not make the lineup. Because I didn't find anything that had like really solid reviews from him. So he didn't get into the lineup this time. I also looked into Adam Neville. The same kind of thing there. I just kind of got tired of digging. I really wanted some fresh names this Spooktober. Like, we did have some repeats with Grady Hendrix and Paul Tremblay and Stephen Graham Jones and Thomas Olde Heuvelt, but I mean, I really just kind of wanted to expand a little bit more, and I'm really happy with the maybes list, and I'm hoping to get some really good books this month. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you like the Spooktober maybes. I'm really excited about what's coming up in October. I'm excited about all the horror content, and I'm excited to finally get my hands on some more horror books. I mean, I read some horror last month, and it was just what I needed to get excited for October. So I'm really excited for the October lineup, and I hope that you'll join me for all of the spooky content that's coming up. Make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!